Hey everyone, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where it is time for turn 10 of the Binding Coils. The first turn of the Final Coils. All this is going to be post-commentary, just so that we could be in voice chat and focus on the fight itself. Alisaie is resolved to go through with her quest to vanquish Bahamut, though it means confronting her beloved grandfather, whom the Elder Primal has made his thrall. With Alphinaud's cooperation, an ethereal pathway has been established, which will take your party to one of the two internment hulks that remain to be disabled. Your foray begins in northern Thanalan at the set of Dalamud's Talon, situated in Raubon's Push. Spare no preparation and expect fierce resistance. Alright, so as I said, this is all going to be post-commentary. We've recently switched over to, for the harder trials, harder raids, we are doing voice chats so that we can coordinate mechanics a little bit easier. And then doing post-commentary after the fact so I can more clearly explain what's actually happening in the fight. As usual, as I go over mechanics, I will be pulling them from the Console Games Wiki. Very good website, very good wiki, has a lot of good strats for basically every fight. I'll be reading the mechanics and strategies off of there. Basically, how we solved the fight was to use this guide. And let's get started. So this is how it looks on the inside. This internment hulk still functions. The teleportation was a success. We are come to the right place. There is no telling how much further Bahamut has regenerated since we last beheld him. Let us make haste to the main bridge and deactivate the coil. There were receptacles similar to these in the previous Hulk. Those held chimerical beasts, but only the Alligans know what other abominations may be sleeping within. They may well be part of Dalamud's internal defenses. We must stay on our guard at all times. God, I wish the twins would wear different clothes. Please, you look identical. Alright, so before we reach the boss itself, we have a series of kind of semi-stealth sections. This first one you can't actually stealth through. We'll have these clockwork spiders that we need to deal with. If they spot us, they will summon enemies from those little containers scattered around. They will also shut off the teleporter if they spot us, until we've defeated all the enemies. Thankfully, these enemies are going down real fast. This was actually our second run into turn 1 of the Final Coils. Oh, stealth section. If you can somehow get to the teleporter without the clockwork soldiers noticing you, you can jump across without having to fight any enemies. It's neat, but it's hard. So we just ended up fighting them. It's not a big deal. Anyways, what was I saying? This was our second time going into turn 10. The first time through, we went for about 40-ish minutes. Not gonna show that. But we eventually realized, well, we knew, but we realized just how important it was. That having 2 shield healers in this duty is actually very, very valuable for some of the mechanics. Having a shield healer and a pure healer can work, but you are way safer having 2 shield healers. Alright. I believe this is the last set of clockwork spiders and the soldiers they spawned. And then once we get down to the boss, we can go over mechanics. And I'll have to go fast because we're gonna beat it on the first attempt. It went real smoothly. I'm not kidding. Just switching to 2 shield healers, we beat it first attempt. Granted, we had, 40 minutes of practice beforehand, but still, that's how good 2 shield healers is. Alright. Boss is just ahead. Imdugud. Alright, first phase of the fight has two mechanics to deal with, Prey and Wild Charge. Prey will put a red marker on a player's head. Once it disappears, the player will be damaged a little bit and get a debuff. Reading off the console games wiki for expediency. When the debuff expires, the player will take a lot of damage and get paralyzed. The way to deal with this mechanic is to shield the player from taking any damage. If they've taken no damage before the marker disappears, they will not receive the debuff and they will not be blown up and paralyzed. It is best to use shields to defend against this. This is why shield healers are so valuable for this fight, is protecting against Prey. The other mechanic in the first phase is Wild Charge. Begins with a blue marker over a player's head. Once it disappears, the player will be stunned, and Imdugud will charge the player who had the blue mark. This is effectively a line AoE. Or a line stack mechanic. Everyone needs to stack together in a line in front of whoever's going to get hit, and you want the tank, or rather the off tank, in front, because whoever's in front will take the most damage. So good positioning if you get the Prey marker over your head is going to be valuable. After taking some amount of damage, the boss will go invincible, and we will have the daughters and sons of Imdugud. Keep daughters separated from daughters and sons separated from sons. Each of them will have some of Imdugud's attacks, and if daughters are close to daughters or sons are close to sons, they will buff each other and get very, very strong. So keep a son and a daughter together on one side, and a son and a daughter together on the other side. Each tank will take one pair, and you will kill them as fast as possible. Once we are done with that, Phase 3 will begin. It is almost identical to Phase 1, but there will be a new ability called Heat Lightning. Let me pull up the notes for that. So, Heat Lightning will target 3 random players and deal a small amount of AoE damage to them. This also leaves a vulnerability up debuff on them, making them take more damage. You will only die if your AoE overlaps with someone else's, or you take a lot of damage elsewhere. The vulnerability up, if you take the vulnerability up from the Heat Lightning, which you will if you get targeted for it, then you will not be able to participate in the line stacks for the Wild Charge. So, it is everyone who is not with a Heat Lightning vulnerability debuff that needs to actually get in the stack for the Wild Charge. Fun. Also worth noting, the longer the ads are up, I believe the more buffs Imdugud gets, so kill them fast to prevent it from getting too many buffs. What is next? Looks like that's about it for mechanics until we hit Phase 4, which should be coming up soon. I'm getting hit with a Wild Charge right now. Oh yeah, it might also be a good idea to use Surecast or Arm's Length to prevent the knockback from Wild Charge, because that can be brutal. A good strategy for dealing with the Prey, by the way, is to toss up suckers that will put shields on everyone. If your shields are strong enough, that can actually protect. Generally, a sucker for initial shield, and then target whoever was being targeted for Prey, and then put a full, Eloquium on them, is the best strategy. Which is a lot easier if you have 2 shield healers, or 2 scholars. You can do similar with Sage, and whatever Sage's shields are. Phase 4 is more ads, but after a few ads die, there will be more ads that get spawned. I believe there will be 4 pairs in total, with the extra pairs appearing at the north and south of the arena. So you need to take care of one pair really fast, then have the tank that's free from their pair grab the new pair quickly. Same as before though, it's just more ads than before. Once they're all done, we'll be able to go back to fighting Imdugud. And in the meantime, Imdugud will be gaining stacks of a buff. Also worth noting, see the rings on the floor around the arena. Those rings are basically your soft enrage. As the fight goes on, the electricity will slowly encroach from the outside in, hitting each ring in sequence. If you take too long, the rings of electricity will cover the entire floor, and you're just gonna very quickly die of electricity. Alright, once the ads are done, we move into the final phase. We have a new mechanic called Cyclonic Chaos. Let me pull that up. It is a tether attached from Imdugud to a random player. After some time, the tether will explode and deal a lot of damage. Most of the time, the tether will appear along with Heat Lightning, so as with Wild Charge, the players not affected by Heat Lightning should deal with the mechanic. With Tether, this is a case of stacking on the tethered player. They should stack in the middle, where the... I'm not going to read that because that refers to specific images in the guide. Players who take damage from Wild Charge and Cyclonic Chaos will be knocked back towards the outer circles. So basically, stack on, if you don't have a vulnerability from Heat Lightning, stack on whoever has the tether. You need to have enough people in order to make sure that you don't die. There are also situations where you might get Wild Charge and Cyclonic Chaos at the same time, without a Heat Lightning. That can be really rough because you have to have half the party stacking for a line stack, half the party stacking for the tether stack. Other mechanics to watch out for. Critical Rip is a tank buster on the tank for over 10,000 damage. Tanks should use their mitigations to bring that down quite significantly, and shield healers should be prepared to put shields up. Crackle Hiss is a frontal cone. It is effectively a cleave. It's basically the game's way of saying don't stand in front of the boss unless you're the tank or you're gonna get hit. Spike Flail is a cone behind, which basically says don't stand behind the boss or you're gonna be in trouble. So you should be standing to the sides if Imdugud. And I believe that's about it. As long as you defeat the ads quickly, stand to the sides of the boss, and protect against prey, deal with Wild Charge, and the tether appropriately, it's not a hard fight. Like, we got through first try with 2 shield healers after 40 minutes of practice. And that is it for turn 10. We're gonna wrap up real quick, grab our loot, and then get on out of here. Also, Final Coils drop item level 130 gear, with turn 10 specifically dropping accessories. All the accessories. Make sure you stock up on your accessories from turn 10 if you are not doing Poetics gear, so you are ready for the next turns. Alright then, let's get on out of here, now that we've got our loot. By the 12 dragons, and so many! We were aware that the Allagans possess the means to control the creatures, but to imprison them thus is barbaric. I would not wish such a fate upon my worst enemy. 'Tis plain that no love was lost between the Allagans and the dragons, but was it truly necessary to keep so great a number here? Dadamu did not want for defenses, this we have experienced firsthand. Such guardians as the Allagans created, both living and unliving, were surely no less capable of repelling intruders than these poor creatures. Tell me something, Alize. Have you not managed to determine by whose will Bahamut exists? No, I have not. At first I assumed that Bahamut had no people of his own, that the Allagans had perhaps discovered a way to simulate prayer itself. However, Nail's words gave me cause to reconsider. Specifically, the Shade's mention of Bahamut's beloved children. From that, I inferred that the Primal is given form by the will of worshippers who we have yet to... Oh. God, strike me down for a blind fool! Bahamut's beloved children right there before my very eyes. How could I be so stupid? Who else but the dragons of Eld would summon Bahamut? Who else but they could sustain him? And to think I wondered why the Allagans kept him imprisoned here. Even should the flame of Bahamut's life go out, his faithful children would summon him back. For this reason, the Allagan Empire kept an army of dragons here in a perpetual state of duress, that they might sustain the Primal's existence. Truly, the Allagans' ingenuity knew no bounds, and neither did their cruelty. Small wonder that Bahamut was so enraged. Let no one deny that it was man who sowed the seeds of the calamity. Will you now turn your hatred towards our own kind, dear sister? Do not patronize me, Alphino. I merely acknowledge our guilt. Lest there be any doubt, I have no intention of allowing Bahamut to lay the world to waste, regardless of the atrocities the Alligans committed against his kind. We have no choice but to eliminate all who worship him, be they his children or his thralls. It seems reasonable to assume that the system responsible for the Primal's regeneration is also responsible for sustaining the captive dragons. If we disable it, all should perish. Let us press on. Horrifying! Fuck the Alligans! I will see everyone next time as we head into Turn 11. See everyone next time for that.